Hey everyone, Arnaldo Offerman of Master School Dances. By request, I'm going to start doing some videos where I just kind of talk about different things or whatever and ramble on like my usual self before events. They'll see they're like, oh my god, Arnaldo, but you're driving, you're going to crash. It's mounted on the dash and I'm only looking at the camera when there's a red light, so safety first. Okay, so on Facebook there's a group that I have called DJ Open Discussion, and somebody brought the whole topic about speakers and wattages and everything else. One of our members, Matt, started talking about how a lot of speaker manufacturers have gotten into this little nasty habit of overhyping on the wattage. Now that doesn't mean that they're exaggerating how much wattage the speaker amp can handle or output, but it's how unimportant in the grand scheme of things the wattage can be, if that makes sense. So let me kind of explain real quick how this goes. And to me, this isn't anything new, because I used to do car audio before I did DJing, and boy, were car audio people guilty about that. Oh my god, well, this speaker handles 1,000 watts, or this amp can output 6,000 watts. Now granted, in car audio world, it was easier to fake those numbers because, let's say a 6,000 watt amp can output 6,000 watts at 22 volts. Well, the problem is we're running it on a 12 volt system, which generally goes 12 to 14, maybe 16 if you're really pushing it. So, a lot of those amps were like, screw it, we're not even going to worry about it. Same thing with speakers, there were ways you could tell. If you have a speaker that says it can handle 2,000 watts and it's got a little voice coil about this big, it's probably not going to do that. Now, side note, in car world, in the car audio world, yes, you can get 6,000 continuous watts out of a 12 volt system, but we're packing in some massive alternators at that point. But that's besides the point. Now, I'm not saying that, powered speakers can reach that kind of wattage. But what I'm saying is, in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of unimportant for us because there's other numbers that we should look at. More importantly, we need to find out if you are interested in the wattage. First of all, you got to make sure it's RMS, not peak, not program, RMS. What is the average wattage that this speaker, is supposedly outputting, or the amp and speaker, whatever, because we're talking powered speakers here. Hold on one second, I got to merge. Okay, so that's key number one. Key number two is, where is this wattage being dispersed? Now, in a bi-amp system, right, you got your woofer, which does your lows and your highs, and then you have your tweeter, your compression horn, whatever you want to call it, which does your highs. Okay, pretty simple. Now, as we know, the bigger the woofer, the more air, or the more power it takes to move that much air. So, obviously, a woofer is going to require a lot more power than your compression horn or tweeter or whatever. Now, if you don't believe me, just take a little cheap, amp, maybe a 100 watt amp or something, right? The ones you can buy from Radio Shack. Hook it up to your woofer, crank it all the way up. It's going to sound nasty and distorted. Now crank it up, or put it up to your tweeter and then crank it up, and it's going to destroy your ears. I mean, most everybody, I think, will hopefully agree that you don't need as much power for your compression driver. So let's say that you have a 1,000 watt or 500 watt speaker. Why would half of it go to your woofer and the other half go to the highs? That's absolutely insane. So basically, that just means that A, you're going to get a shrilly nasty sounding speaker, or B, you have a lot of unused potential, or whatever other choices may be. Those are the two that I see as it is, and it kind of bugs the heck out of me, because I'm like, I'm not going to spend this much money for a speaker that only is going to go 500 towards this, and the rest is going to go to the compression driver that doesn't need it. Now, that's why you'll notice there's some other speakers that have it, unbalanced, but I'd say that in a good way. Now, that might be, let's say, for example, a 900 watt speaker, and maybe 600 of that goes to the woofer, and 300 goes to the highs or whatever. So that's the reason why they do that. But more important, more than anything else, and one of the things that I look at when I'm purchasing speakers is, what is the output in terms of decibels? Can they hit 131? Amazing. Oh my God, this hits 133. That's even better. And of course, and the next thing you want to look at is it calculated or guesstimated, or is it measured? Meaning, did they actually physically measure the output? And if you don't know, and if it doesn't say in the spec sheet, call the manufacturer, or better yet, call your dealer and ask them. Most dealers will be able to tell you, because they usually have a good relationship with that company or their rep or whatnot. So again, let's sum this up here. Ignore wattage. Wattage is absolutely a stupid thing to look at in the grand scheme of things, because some speakers are more efficient than others. I'll give you an example in the car audio world. I had two individual subwoofers that we were looking at installing, and one of them was not that efficient. You know, it sucked about 750 watts RMS, and it barely outputted about 128. Another one did only 350, 400 watts RMS, and it output, I want to say, close to 130, 131. Now, the reason is because, of course, the speaker box, what it requires, you know, the design of, there's so many different factors. And again, I know it's apples to oranges when I'm comparing the 12-volt world to standard, you know, PA, but, you know, every speaker enclosure is different. Every amplifier is different. Every driver itself is different. They all have their own unique technologies to be efficient. So wattage isn't the only thing anymore when you have a lot of digital technologies that are coming to play to help make things more efficient. So anyhow, I really hope that helps. My name's Ronaldo Offerman of Master School Dances. Until the next event, thanks so much and God bless.